Chetty Bobby. Welcome to Wrasslin with Big E and the POT. Podcast tag champs of the whole world, slamming like a DDT. Got it like just like a figure four. Hulk Hogan, all they do is flex. Talking wrestling while they get the dough. Off the top like a superplex. Think they letting up? Hell no. Dusty Rose with the elbow. From the corner like a stinging splash straight to the face. I know you felt those. Hey, y'all crying out for help though. Rising up like the dead man. About to go upside your head like Stone Cold with the bedpan. Bottom line, if you want the facts, welcome to Wrasslin where you need to be. Chetty Bobby, this show improved like John Cena, you ain't seeing me. Bottom line, if you want the facts, welcome to Wrasslin where you need to be. Chetty Bobby, this show improved like John Cena, you ain't seeing me. Yeah.
Hey, welcome to Wrasslin with the Wrasslin Boyz. I'm the POT alongside my tag team partner Big E, and we're here to bring you another episode of premium wrestling content. What's going on, brother?
What do you say, brother?
Hey man, on for another one, quarter century.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Hey, we
gotta be quicker than that.
Yeah. But hey, today is a little different. We got us a fun little topic we're gonna discuss. But before we get into that, let's talk a few things that happened this week in wrestling. Some big things happened. Of course, Monday, Jey Uso, Gunther retained, became the new world heavyweight champion. Didn't think they was gonna drop the title on Raw, but I know from what I'm reading and all this and that, they're working on Goldberg's retirement match. And it's going to be with Gunther. They've already had some run-ins and all that. And they wanted to have be for the World Heavyweight Championship. Well, tell me what you think about that. If that's that's the sole reason why he lost the belt in the first place.
Well, I agree, but you remember back around WrestleMania season, you remember I said there was a rumor about Goldberg and Gunther, and I'm glad they pushed it off. However, to your point, I don't know, man. I'm really disappointed. We knew that Jey Uso wasn't going to have a super long title reign. That was our prediction in first place. But I felt like he was going to keep the title at least till SummerSlam or something like that. 51 days. The guy is leading the merch sales, and people.
He's definitely over with the crowd, bro. There's no question about that.
So okay, you can say, well, maybe he don't need the belt, but why? You reward him with the Royal Rumble win. He get the big heat moment at WrestleMania. I know we're not the writers, and again, they got this dynamic with the Goldberg thing, but if that's the sole reason why they took the title off of him this early, just to put that together, then I'm very disappointed in that.
Right. I'm disappointed that we're going to see another Goldberg match. Listen, Goldberg is who they made him, okay? You can't, even back then, you can't expect him to work, 15, 20, 30-minute matches, okay?
Right.
He's a squash guy.
Right.
But the last couple of matches have been bad. They've been dangerous. He's either almost hurt himself or other people.
But I didn't think the matches with Lashley was bad.
No, but yeah.
I ain't really think that was bad. I ain't gonna do like that. The Undertaker definitely was awful. We don't have to go elaborate on that. It should have stopped right there. So the fact he came back at that, but I understand him as a competitor, as a human being. Of course, he didn't want to end on that because he knew that was terrible and he knew that he didn't want to go out like that. But I didn't think the work he did with Lashley was bad. Just to be honest
Okay.
with you, it's typical Goldberg match.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I ain't finna let you get away
No,
with that.
I mean, I get it.
You
I'm
wanna
not
dump
interested
on
in seeing.
just
I'm
because
not
he's not a
interested in
roll
seeing another Goldberg
tider.
match.
You just because he's not a roll tider. I bet you the son of a bitch went to the University of Alabama, you'd be a Goldberg fan.
No, absolutely not. Not even a fan. I'm not interested in seeing him wrestle nobody ever again.
I
I'm
understand that.
not
I'm just
interested in
saying, but
that.
you didn't have to say the man like the Bobby Lashley match. I mean, you go back and watch it. Well, there wasn't no moments where I was like, "Oh my God, he almost broke his neck." I'm just saying.
Find me a new partner. Hey, listen. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm not interested in seeing another. I almost said something real disrespectful, and I'm gonna keep it to myself. But I don't care if that man went to the University of Georgia. I am not interested in seeing him wrestle again.
Sure.
Maybe he'll show up and spear somebody. That's great. In his leather jacket and blue jeans or whatever, come out there with University of Colorado shirt on or something because his son plays for Colorado, whatever. I am not interested in seeing a man in them black knee pads, them black draws, coming out there to that music, and I'm just not interested. I don't see how anybody can be interested. You know, you take Lashley is a superhuman athlete. So yeah, it wasn't that bad. But I don't know. And maybe Gunther will make him look like $1 million. Who knows?
I think Gunther's gonna like get his licks in, so maybe this is what he needs. You know what I mean? So I mean, I just take it for what it's worth. I'm not never been a big Goldberg fan
Okay.
too. We on the
Oh,
same page, brother. I'm just
yeah.
saying, but I ain't finna let you just be like, oh, he almost killed Lashley. It wasn't that damn
Yeah,
bad.
well, shit. First of all, you don't let me do anything.
Oh man.
Let's just get that out there. No. But listen, okay. You want to say that? Hold on a second. Goldberg wins, becomes world heavyweight champion. Then what you gonna do? Because they've done it before.
I don't want to see Goldberg and Gunther, first of all. So
I don't want to see Goldberg at all.
I get what you're saying. I don't either. I'm just talking about you dumping on the man, you know, as if, you know, he Evil Knievel.
This is Welcome to Wrestling. We got free reign.
Now, I will say this and I'm done with it.
All right.
If and just like you said, if the sole reason of cutting Jey Uso title reign short is for Goldberg has a retirement match for the World Heavyweight Championship, that is bullshit.
Okay. But we are on the same page on that one. Now,
okay.
So does, you know, it comes around on Raw. Do we see, because he gave a little heartfelt speech, Jey Uso did when the cameras went off, had his son out there. I'm sure everybody's seen it on YouTube or whatever. And
right.
But, you know, I'm going to get it back. You know, thank y'all, love y'all, fought my ass off and everything. But then again, you've got Jacob finally turned on Solo. Jacob's all by himself.
Right.
Solo's got the Tongans. Solo's got Jeff Cobb, JC Mateo.
Mateo, yes, sir.
And I mess his name up every time, but starts with the H. He made his debut as a dark match at SmackDown.
The tall
little brother.
Yeah, the tall one.
Yeah. So does everybody align themselves with Solo, and does Solo got the Usos come with him and all that? So we're gonna have another bloodline civil war. Who knows? He might take some time off.
That's true.
The Intercontinental title he had for less than 50 days. World title. And I just don't get it. I don't get it right now. I don't get it on
Yeah.
I don't understand it. And we haven't really questioned a lot of things that they've been doing, but this is
right.
I'm questioning this.
Yeah,
we definitely questioning this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
On the same page on that.
Yeah, but we'll keep up and we'll see what happens on Raw Monday, and see if he shows up, if anything is said, or if they just forget about it and start doing the Goldberg Gunther story. So we'll see. We got the Night of Champions is coming up in Saudi Arabia,
right?
So that's gonna be. That's the show that pays the big money, and they want a lot of the older names, and maybe that's what happens. Who knows? Like I say, we'll find out, and we'll keep it updated.
But they're saying the Goldberg Gunther is going to be Saturday night's main event in Atlanta.
Okay, all right,
and that's also the same night as All In.
Yeah.
So
that's big. Yeah. That's all right. R-Truth, Ron Killings. Last episode, we talked about him a little bit as far as him showing up at Money in the Bank,
right.
jumping on John Cena. So he gets fired. Definitely got released. That's not a work.
Right.
Okay. They fired him. Everybody, the fans went crazy. The locker room went crazy. I don't think they would listen to the locker room, but they definitely listened to the fans. And brought him back, surprised us. But that promo on Monday, I'm not a gimmick, and cut his hair off. And you had the whole crowd yelling, holy shit, because this man cut his hair off. That's how over he is.
Right.
You got guys that do matches that take a chance of paralyzing themselves and killing themselves just to get the crowd to say, holy shit. And this man's got him doing it just by cutting his hair and telling everybody he's no gimmick.
Right.
I mean, he's definitely over. And I think it's one of those things where it was a bad situation that they made good.
Absolutely.
As far as they made it better, actually, because now you brought it into a story. Now you can take him serious, and now you can put him in those special main events and those special matches, and it's not a joke. Now you can use him and take him above, because he still can work.
Right.
He still can work, but now you can really use him and be serious. So I don't know. I thought the promo was genius. I think everything he was doing, the stuff that he did on Busted Open the other day, if you saw that,
yeah,
where
absolutely.
He just came unglued and man, they made a bad situation and turned it good and made it better, and now they can really make it a story. So kudos to them for doing that. They're messing up here, but they fixing over here.
And we talked about it like the whole timing of that. It's like they gave him the last hurrah when he was Ron Cena going against John Cena. But I will say, this is me being technical and so practical that I am. He wasn't. Yeah, he was fired, but technically he wasn't fired. Contract
wasn't renewed. All right.
Yeah,
if you're at a job and they say we're not renewing your contract, you're fired.
Yeah, but it's
fired.
It's not like he joined the Kiss My Ass Club or something, with the Benny Mac days. But you absolutely right though, that for a change, for once they listened to the people.
Right.
And they made a bad situation a great situation. And also it definitely worked out for Truth, or Ron Killings, if you will, because it gave him more longevity if they book it right. he can get more tread off those tires right
Yeah.
now because okay, he was the comedy act. He was the Tozawa, the Santino Marella, the R-Truth. And now it's like, okay, they call for Truth to come back, but now we get a different version. Now we get the real him, Ron Killings. And like you said, now we can take him seriously and hopefully they book him the right way and capitalize on this momentum.
Right. Because he's driving now.
Absolutely.
So one more thing to talk about before we get in the topic. And that's Swerve Strickland, Will Ospreay. They had a match a couple of months ago, whenever it was, and went crazy. This one again, super duper stiff, very athletic, hit their big spots, but was so stiff and so good. Swerve Strickland is the man. You know, Ospreay, you know, he does. It's kind of Ospreay is like a modern day AJ Styles in his younger prime. Will Ospreay, I mean, he even does the Styles Clash.
Right.
You know, he jumps over the ropes and would spread his body out when he's coming down like AJ did. And everybody steals, everybody uses their moves. And if you're gonna, you know, copy somebody, it's a great person to go after because he definitely has his offensive maneuvers are fantastic or phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
You know, so if you're gonna copy somebody, that's a good guy to copy.
Absolutely.
But Swerve Strickland is just, first of all, he's very violent. Some of the matches he had with Hangman Adam Page, you know, were crazy. Him, you know,
Samoa Joe
to himself. Yeah. So, yeah, man. If you didn't see that match, I would please go to YouTube, check it out. Very, very, very entertaining. Very entertaining. Also, they had the Kenny Omega and Okada contract signing, and you know, big story there, and making it look like Omega was, you know, coughing up a lung and spitting up blood after they jumped on him and stuff. So that's, you know, they're trying to compete. They're trying to hold their own. They're doing their thing. You know, it's hard to watch everything.
Right.
You know, especially when you're grown up. You know what I mean? In this day and age, you can catch a lot of stuff and catch the highlights and everything, but it's hard to watch everything, keep up with absolutely everything. But AEW, as far as their wrestling matches, I mean, a lot of them they killing it over there as far as the matches. Storytelling, they're not there yet. You know, but hey, all more power to them. Keep going, keep getting better. Hey man, let's jump into the topic for this week. Nothing to cover as far as PLVs and PLEs and PPVs and PLEs and all that. We're gonna talk about wrestlers in movies this week. They do something a little different. And we ain't going to no kind of list or whatever. We'll sit here and shoot the shit and talk wrestlers with movies until we get ready to not talk about it no more. And I'll let you go ahead and we'll just bring them up and talk about the movies, and let's just have a good old welcome to wrestling conversation about wrestlers and movies. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and yell out the first one. And let's talk. You know, the Rock, the John Cena's, the Batistas, they got a list this long. I got maybe one or two about The Rock I want to talk about. So we don't gotta just list every movie that the wrestler take. But let's just go ahead and have fun with it. Go ahead and throw one out there, bro.
All right, I'm just gonna start out with an obvious one. Of course, this topic is a wide range for us. There's no real criteria, as long as whether if it's about wrestling or if it's a wrestler that participate in some part in the movie. But I'm gonna start off with Hulk Hogan's No Holds Barred because that was about wrestling,
Right.
and of course it was Hulk Hogan, who at the time the biggest wrestling superstar globally, um, and also even though he didn't play himself, he played a character very similar to his character
Right.
in wrestling.
Yeah.
But the reason why I like this movie is because they had a great heel.
Yeah.
Like Zeus,
Yeah.
Tiny Lister, was like a badass. And
R.I.P.
you
Yeah.
see this guy, and he looked like, okay, like Hulk Hogan can't beat him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he got the eye and the whole intimidation factor. Like great movie villain, as far as a fighting movie. I mean, like he was badass, and
Yeah.
Hogan would to rip him, and they had some funny scenes.
Yeah.
What's that
What's that
smell?
smell? Dookie.
uh, so
I can't lie. I've watched that movie a billion times.
right,
Especially when you were younger. If you were a wrestling fan, you watched it. Wrestling fans, I've seen almost every movie with wrestlers in it, whether it's good or not.
right,
Because you want to support them and you want to see something different.
right.
Let's shout out. There was some more wrestlers in that movie. We had Jesse the Body Ventura, Stan the Lariat Hansen,
Tiny
Weiner. They had Axe from Demolition.
Bill Eadie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
he was because he was the masked superstar,
right.
And seeing him without his mask was pretty much most people saw him as Axe with the face paint. Of course, he didn't have a face paint, so a lot of people probably didn't know that was him. But if you look back at the movie and one of the wrestling scenes, it was Bill Eadie, Axe from Demolition.
But hey, man, it's super lame movie if you really thought about it, but fantastic movie. You know what I mean? No holds barred. That's a good one. Hey, we'll stick with Hulk Hogan, and we're not gonna do Commando Nanny or whatever this, but Rocky 3 when he was Thunderlip.
Yeah.
In the flesh, baby. The ultimate male versus the ultimate meatball. First of all, the funny thing was, Hogan's a big dude. He was about 6'7" back then for real.
Right.
But they had him standing on a box because like Stallone came to like right here.
Right.
It made him just look like he was about 8 feet tall.
Right.
But it's just different seeing him. You so like in No Holds Barred, you were so used to nothing but red and yellow. And he came out in the all white with the red boots, had the cape and the hat with the feather in it and all that stuff.
Right.
But he had the championship belt, but it looked so small on him. But that was I thought that was good. They did the leg drop,
right.
Leg did, took Rocky through it. And shout out Rocky 3, which might be one of the best ones, the best out of all of them. I think.
My favorite.
Mr. T, and if you want to really wrestlers, Mr. T was at WrestleMania.
Right.
So.
But, that movie, and you got to think, pioneer is Rocky 3, but that movie really kind of kick-started the whole Hulkamania thing, if you think about it, because you hear the backstory. Hogan worked for Vince Sr.
Yeah,
he worked for
WWF.
Yeah. He told me to do the movie, you're gonna fire him. And Hogan was like, I'm gonna do the movie.
Right.
Did the movie, he got fired, and that's how he ended up in AWA with Vern Gagne,
Right.
and the whole Hulkamania, even though it wasn't called Hulkamania then,
Right.
his whole character was kind of taking off, and he was making his
Mhm.
own T-shirts and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, we know the history with Vince Jr.
Right.
bought the company and signed them and attached a rocket on his butt. But if it really wasn't for Rocky 3 and getting that movie
Yeah.
exposure and
Yeah.
and putting wrestling, that character on the map, I mean, who knows what would have happened? You know what I mean? Also,
Yeah.
you mentioned the Mr. T thing. I mean, because their relationship, I'm pretty sure, kind of helped
Yeah.
get him
Yeah.
involved with the whole WrestleMania gimmick. So
Right.
that Rocky 3 was very, very powerful for as far as the wrestling business.
You can't tell me Mr. T didn't look like he was the best boxer to ever live in that movie.
What's
I
your
mean,
prediction?
right. Pain.
Bang.
And the stuff with the stuff with him and Apollo Creed, I mean, no has been in my corner,
Right.
Hey boy, hey boy. But he was a great trash talker in that movie. Especially,
Absolutely.
hey woman. He said,
Yeah.
when he was talking
That
to
whole scene,
yeah,
the retirement scene when they
yeah. So, but like I say, Rocky 3 probably one of the best ones. I like them all. I'm a Rocky guy.
I always think with Mickey was like, what he say, he'll kill you to death.
Right. He'll kill you to death in 3 rounds, right? We trying to beat this guy. He ain't been hungry since you run that belt.
Yeah, Rocky 3 was real.
Catch that chicken, Rock.
It was very powerful. And also you think of the whole Rocky Apollo dynamic, because of course Rocky 1 and 2 was their story, and then and all this happened, and he ended up Mick died, of course. I mean, I'm sure everybody's seen the movie.
Yeah.
Most everybody, know how that story unfolded. But very, very powerful. As far as the wrestling business,
yeah,
it was very, very monumental.
Absolutely. Throw another one out there, big dog.
All right. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna do a little fun one this time. I'm gonna do Ready to Rumble.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because we definitely with WCW guys being from
Atlanta. That damn near had the whole roster on the movie.
That movie
Nitro
was
Girls, Mean Gene. But movie is hilarious.
It was fun, man. It was.
It really was. I got a couple of favorite parts, but at the end when Sting hits the manager, the one friend, and then David Arquette was like, do me. But man, I mean, they had everybody from Sid Vicious to Van Hammer, the Filthy Animals.
T.
Yeah. Charmel was in it,
Right.
Mean Gene, Sting, DDP.
Right.
They had the whole doggone roster on there. Bam Bam Bigelow.
Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah. R.I.P. Bam Bam Bigelow, man. One of the greatest big guys ever to do it, man.
Right.
But yeah, man, Ready to Rumble was that and Beyond the Mat about came out at the same time.
Right.
And Beyond the Mat was different. You got to go see it at the movies, and that was your first time getting to see like backstage stuff. And I remember just watching that movie and them talking to Cactus Mick Foley. And you see badass Billy Gunn walking backstage, and they're talking about this, and Stone Cold walks by. Yeah, my daughter's out there. How you doing? Blah blah blah. Just that it was so different. You had never seen no. And then the stuff with Jake the Snake, and right, to see where he was then and where he is now is amazing.
That's especially that. But to back to the whole Mick Foley interaction, I think one thing that always stood out to me was his interaction with The Rock. when they was talking about the match. And that was one of the most brutal chair shots in wrestling history. You know what I mean? And it was just crazy, like when they were showing him after the match, how his kids and how everybody was acting, and he was getting the stitches and stuff. He was like, "If I see Rocky right now, I swear I'll kill him."
Yeah, if I would see, but he was like, but I think it was great. He knew when to do it, but it was bad.
Yeah,
those chair shots with him being handcuffed, man. So there's no give, there's no nothing.
And it's just straight from the other perspective, though. It's like, you can't fake that.
No. There's this. And then his kids and the wife were in the crowd.
Yeah, as well. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then they're watching it together afterwards, after the match was over, and that was different. You really got the stuff they did with New Jack on there was different.
Yeah.
Of course, that's a whole episode talking about New Jack. But Ready to Rumble, and like I say, those kind of came out real close to one another. So I really enjoyed both of those. And that might be one of the best wrestling documentaries that there is.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm going to do a movie everybody knows. The Princess Bride with Andre the Giant. Anybody want a peanut?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that was in our real younger days. Had Fred Savage,
right.
And of course Andre was in there, and they said that was at the time where his back was real bad. They said he couldn't even, as strong as he is, like he couldn't even pick the girl up for real. Like they had something holding her,
some apparatus holding her.
Yeah, holding her. Like it looked like he had caught her, but his back was so bad, and just of course that's real close to the end. But you talk about Andre the Giant, just he really was the eighth wonder of the world. And yeah, man, we're lucky for movies and stuff, because even though he's not here, you can always go back, and still enjoy him to this day. And he makes that movie good. He's funny in the movie. His name was Fezzik. And but yeah, I was a big fan of that movie, especially back in the day.
That actually he filmed that right before the whole heel turn.
Right.
Because Vince visited him on set. They said and talked to him about that, but it was the whole thing was about that. You mentioned how his back and all that was just in terrible shape, and it was about getting that surgery where it kind of I guess alleviate enough pain where he can somewhat work a match, to get that angle and to feel that silver dome. For WrestleMania 3. But definitely very iconic, and the type of movie it was. He was the perfect person to play that character.
Right. I mean, he told the guy, he's like, "I'm on the Brute Squad." He was like, "You are the Brute Squad."
They said it was rough, because of course he's in so much pain and stuff, and they come on the set of that movie, and but they also I was watching a documentary about that movie actually on YouTube, and they was talking about how he was just drinking so much.
Oh yeah, they couldn't control.
Yeah. They was like
how many beers and how much wine.
Yeah, they said like they were shooting scenes and stuff, and he just was out of it, man.
And his drinking stories are legendary,
right?
Especially for the amount,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Go ahead and throw another one out there.
All right, this one's one of my favorites because actually I'm a fan of this actor, but I'm going with The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke.
Okay.
And of course, this movie was up for quite a few awards when it came out. Of course, Mickey Rourke was up for Academy Award for Best Actor for playing
Yeah.
a wrestler, Randy the Ram. And of course, this movie also had other wrestlers and little small scenes.
R-Truth, yeah. Ron Killings
R-Truth,
was in there.
right? And they did some tapings at some Ring of Honor shows.
Right.
And but just the story itself, like showing that perspective of a wrestler, which a lot go through this, that was popular and prominent and had their 15 minutes of fame.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, they get older, Father Time is undefeated. So, but they still in the business, which a lot are still in the business, working
Right.
indies,
Doing
or
the signings
and stuff, but it showed that kind of story, and it was kind of sad, really.
Oh, it was super sad. I mean, to tell you, even the part, like, for instance, let's talk about a few scenes in there. When he did the signing, a lot of the old timers were there, and they had the kidney bag. They were, somebody might have oxygen on. The other one had the catheter in him and having to use the bathroom in the bag and stuff.
Right.
Guys were walking around on walkers and stuff. When he had the heart attack, remember when he got out of the hospital and saw that his gear was cut up.
Right.
And it ain't like he had enough money to get more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that was crazy. Like, it really showed, like, this, you can be on top 1 minute, and the next minute, you working for $150, and then drove to 500 miles to get that $150.
And the movie had so many layers in it. It wasn't just, of course, it was about a retired wrestler, but it was showing his life and his relationships. Like, he had a relationship with the stripper, Marissa Tomei. And he kind of, built some type of companionship with her, but then he had the broken situation with his daughter, and then he was trying to do right and disappointed her when he was partying the one night, and it was so many layers, and then you just saw why he at the end he just said, screw it, I'm gonna go ahead and do the match with Ernest the Cat Miller, or what do you call him, the Ayatollah or something in that movie.
Right.
Shout out Ernest the Cat Miller.
Right.
But
3-time karate champion.
3-time. Greatest of all time. But that was, but a very powerful movie, man. Very powerful movie. But it's definitely one of my favorite wrestling movies. Yeah.
Really, really open your eyes to how great this business can be, but it's also, just like everything
the other
else,
side of it.
It's the super downside to it. And I think that, like, if this was real, like, Mika Ward would have been on Dark Side of the Ring. They would have had an episode about Randy the Ram.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for real.
Right. I'm gonna do a fun one, and I love this movie. I love the original, The Longest Yard. The original with Burt Reynolds. Love that one, but the remake had quite a few wrestlers in there.
Right.
And you had Kevin Nash, Stone Cold, Goldberg, and I'll even dare to say you had Bob Sapp in there, who has wrestled here and there, but done a lot of fighting too. You know what I mean?
You play football?
Will you teach me the football? But what that was, a lot of remakes are disappointing. That one wasn't disappointing at all, and it was damn near better than the first one. And I've heard quite a few people say they like the second one better. I like them both the same, but I enjoy both of them. But I like how they had Burt Reynolds in the second one as well.
Right.
And it's funny because, Burt Reynolds really went to Florida State University, and they had, Adam Sandler, character went to Florida State.
Right.
But they had Burt Reynolds went to Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? So I was a Sooner. Boomer Sooner. But I mean, talking about star-studded as far as athletes with Michael Irvin, just
they had like rapper Nelly and all kinds of folks.
They had D12 in there, Terry Crews.
Right. He had them cheeseburgers.
Right. Chris Rock. Chris Rock was caretaker.
Brian
the Great
Khali.
I forgot about the Great Khali was in there.
Great Khali was in that show.
When he said, "I'm glad you're back. Now I don't have to stab you." And they had your boy, what's your boy, Tracy?
Tracy Morgan.
Tracy Morgan,
Tracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely had an all-star cast.
Yeah.
But that comes with Adam Sandler, though.
Yeah. Big fan of he's a big sports fan all around, but basketball, loves wrestling.
Right.
This ain't got nothing to do with that. But have you seen that movie Hustle on Netflix with Adam Sandler?
It's a recent movie, right?
Yeah, I mean it's about a year or something. But you got to check that out. That's a good one by him being a basketball scout for the Sixers.
Oh, I heard about that.
It's actually pretty good, man. That's a good movie. Yeah. But yeah, man, Longest Yard, like I said, I'm a fan of both of them. But definitely Kevin Nash was absolutely hilarious in that movie.
Yeah.
When they switched his steroids with estrogen.
Yeah, he was tripping on that.
And he was out there with the pom-poms like and then he was out there crying. If you want to cry, I'll cry with you.
Yeah.
But he played that role, man. Kevin Nash's not a bad actor. Now I've never seen the Magic Mike movies. And I put that on my kid.
Yeah.
But as far as of course, he was Shredder on the Ninja Turtle movie.
Yeah, I think Super Shredder.
Super Shredder.
Super Shredder,
yeah.
And he was a villain in one of them Punisher movies too. He was the Russian.
Yeah. But that definitely was that definitely one of my all-time favorites as far as movies, especially movies with wrestlers. Yeah.
Okay. That could be.
Yeah.
Well, this next one, I'm gonna go something with Hot Rod, Roddy Piper. I'm gonna go with They Live. And this movie, to be honest with you, I didn't watch this movie till after Roddy passed. To be honest with you,
later.
And the reason why I watched it is because I'm a big John Carpenter fan, the director of the original Halloween. And I like a lot of his movies. I've been going deep in the archives and looking at movies like Christine and The Thing, and he had countless of other movies, and he always
Christine's one of my favorites. Yeah,
Big Trouble in Little China. Like, dude had a lot of movies back in his day. However, I checked out They Live. Of course, I had Roddy Piper.
Yeah,
and a very, very interesting concept, and his character was a typical guy who was kind of out on luck in life, just lived a typical life of just kind of struggling, trying to find job, working, warehouse type jobs, and ran across these glasses, man, And and it was just like he was just seeing these aliens, or I don't remember what they called them people, man, but it was like, put the glasses on and you could distinguish the difference between the aliens and the humans, and but it was a big deal, because these glasses obviously was a big secret, and the movie just kind of took off from there, man. And it's just one scene that you get a quote from, and I always think of Bruce Pritchard. What's the quote? What he said, I'm here to kick ass
Yes, and
and
chew
chew
bubble
bubble
gum, and
gum.
I'm all out of bubble
I'm
gum.
all out of bubble gum, So that yeah, but like I said, being a John Carpenter fan, and obviously Roddy Piper, a wrestler, uh, different concept, very probably really ahead of its time.
Yeah,
At the time when that movie came out, probably a lot of it didn't probably catch on because a lot of people are like, "This is weird," probably went over a lot of people's heads,
yeah,
But looking back at it, it's like probably like a cult classic.
right, right, yeah. Um, I'm gonna throw a rock movie out there.
Okay.
Um, now, not a fan of all his movies. I've seen them all just about. And we ain't got to talk about Fast and the Furious because all those movies are good. But I'm gonna do Walking Tall, and I thought that was really a good one. Had Johnny Knoxville. I love this movie. I love the original. It's a remake, and the reason why it's cool because the original movie was a true story. About a retired professional wrestler who moved back home to Tennessee and became the sheriff. And, the remake was good. The Rock killed it. I thought the movie was real good. But I just thought it's cool. Like you have a wrestler playing the part of a actually retired wrestler who the movie was actually based on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I thought that was always cool. I enjoyed the original ones are from the 70s, early 80s.
Right.
And I watched them, by Buford Pusser. Sheriff Buford Pusser. But he was a retired wrestler who turned to sheriff and cut down in the crime of the town he was in, and wife was killed, all kind of crazy stuff. But yeah, man, Walking Tall, The Rock. I tell you, The Rock, before the Fast and Furious, I think Gridiron Gang and Walking Tall might be my favorite ones besides Fast and the Furious and all that. Gridiron Gang, I remember seeing that documentary when we was in school.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So, but I thought the movie was actually good. Willie Weathers, you know what I'm saying? But him and Exhibit.
Right.
But yeah, I thought I like, forget Dome and all the Scorpion King. Like I dig those two movies and the Fast and the Furious and all that shit. And I even like that one Rampage movie with the big, the big gorilla and stuff and all that. Yeah, that was cool.
I mean, I thought that Snitch movie was good. I mean, but to your point though, he got so many movies. Like I like Pain and Gain. I thought he played a good role in that movie. But to your point though, it's we on the same page.
Yeah.
Know what I mean?
Matter of fact, me and the boys watched Central Intelligence the other day, and they thought it was the funniest movie they've seen so far in life.
Right. See,
and he was hilarious in that movie.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
All right. This next one. It's definitely one of my favorites. I know we touched on the Sylvester Stallone movie earlier.
I know what you feel.
Yeah, but
and I'm not gonna take it from you. I'm gonna let you say the part when we get to it.
Well, I had to go over the top.
The
top. And I love this movie, man. I tell you what, every time I catch it on, if it's on, I gotta watch at least 15, 20 minutes of it.
It's getting watched if it's on.
Yeah, man. I love this movie, man.
You might go to streaming something and go past it and be like, whoa.
Right.
You might look at the whole movie.
Right. Man, I can't say enough about just the whole concept, and again, it's layers to the story. We know about he did get to raise his son private school, and he's there, and then the mom's sick, and then he trying to build a relationship with his son, and they don't
Right.
have nothing in common. I mean, just the whole movie, but just the and then the whole arm wrestling thing though was badass because
Yeah.
of course he had the one match at the diner or whatever,
Right.
and then the man, Big Bull
Yeah.
Hurley, Big
Too
Harley
bad your old
David.
man's yeller, kid.
Right. Let's do double or nothing.
Right.
It's a
I feel like kicking some ass.
yeah. What do you say? Wait for Vegas. He's like,
Yo,
here you
you
go,
ain't got a
sir.
prayer in Vegas.
Yeah. So that's that whole movie, man. But okay, now the wrestling aspect is,
Right.
of course, the legendary hardcore, uh, the hardcore legend himself, Terry Funk.
You went breaking, egg sucking dog.
I mean, talk about having, Terry was older,
Yeah.
by that time, but the thought of having Terry Funk as like your bodyguard,
Right.
like one of your henchmen. I mean, that dude's crazy for real, like a
Right.
shoot, So one of my favorite parts though was when at the tournament, it was the color brought him up, it showed him the big tractor trailer was like you can have it. He wrote him a check. He's like get the hell out of our lives,
Right.
right? He's like, I can't do that. So
I got a
when he was,
family.
yeah, then he was about to
Yeah.
leave, and Terry was like, Mr. Cutler's not through with you yet.
When he poked it,
Yeah.
Mr. Cutler is not done talking to you yet. And then Sylvester Stallone
Woo.
laid Terry Funk out.
Man.
He
Hey,
was big in that movie, bro. He was
yeah,
diesel in that movie,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So,
Hey, well, look at them all wrestlers that they had. Yeah, them was
man,
some
he had some crazy guy. That movie was good. The
absolutely.
the only beef I got with that movie is the kid cried so much.
Yeah,
Like the crying, they overdid it with the crying.
yeah,
They
he's a
had
brat.
like that was his. They had like that might have been his best feature as an actor. He
Yeah,
could cry on the spot. So we're getting to
yeah,
cry
he can
13
do that.
times. He could
Yeah,
cry 37 times during the movie.
well, like a toddler.
Right.
Yeah, he definitely he did great being a brat. You know.
Right. Oh yeah, he played that to a T. But
Yeah,
the guy I remember the one guy that was drinking the Castro oil.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then was
He was at the Alka Seltzer and shit.
then he had the Alka-Seltzer like 30 minutes later.
Okay, but he chewed up the cigar too. You remember?
Yeah,
Yeah, that dude Grizzly. What they John Grizzly or something like that.
yeah, something. But yeah, they had that one dude, Mad Dog.
Yeah, yeah.
What was the one dude? Man, the black dude.
I
He was
can't
like,
lose
"This is
hope.
a fire
I can't
plug,
lose hope.
and I'm gonna light them up."
I can't lose hope.
Right. I've been cheated. He was like, set it back up. I've been cheated.
Yeah, no, hey, yeah, over the top though, over the
Yeah,
top,
yeah.
definitely was.
Those herd hawks. Hey, yeah, Bull was that dude. What did he
Talk about
say?
Ultimate Heels, Ultimate
Yeah,
Heel. We talked about Zeus earlier. Bull Harley is probably one of the baddest heel characters in any of these movies that we talked about tonight.
that must said I drive trucks, kick ass, and arm wrestle.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good one. Hey man, talking about Terry Funk, we can go to Roadhouse. Patrick
Absolutely.
Swayze. Um, I mean that's another movie seen a billion times. Sam Elliott. all the fighting scenes, him going to getting hired by different nightclubs to straighten them out when they're, got that bad seed in there. You got nothing but bad crowds, and both of us getting shot, stabbed every weekend. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So they bring Dalton in to get everybody together. And, Terry Funk was one of the guys that he fired.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, he was throwing folks out. That when they first got there, Terry Funk was trying to fight everybody in the bar.
Right.
Right. Craziest thing that movie when he ripped that dude's throat off.
Ooh.
Man, you talk about, bro. Like you just killed a dude by ripping his throat apart. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But yeah, that's a classic. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, they remade it. I didn't check out.
I haven't seen the remake.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, you can't remake them all.
Right.
Some remakes are good. Like we talking about the Longest Yard, but yeah, you can't do them all. But I haven't seen. It's got like Jake Gyllenhaal in there, don't it?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah. I ain't checked it out. Yeah. Let's do a couple more.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna go with the movie Dave Bautista, which like The Rock, he played in 100 movies.
Yeah.
But his work, I say there's a pre Marvel character Bautista, and then there's a post Marvel character Bautista, and the reason I say that because I think he started getting better roles because of the exposure. I mean, I know he was like he played everything from a James Bond villain to a spy, multiple spy movies, but even where he was being silly and had a daughter or something. I forgot what movie that was. But the movie that I'm going to talk about is A Knock at the Cabin. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, bro, this movie kind of bone chilling because the whole storyline is about a family that went on vacation. But they went to a cabin. And these strangers, 4 strangers, Batista was one of them, as he's like the leader. And they went to these people's cabin, pretty much held them hostage. But it wasn't like they held them hostage, but it was more like they had the whole apocalypse thing going on where it was like the end of the world is coming. So they had to make a choice, the family. And there were different situations where they had to sacrifice somebody's life, either sacrifice and save your family or sacrifice to save the world. And it was a hell of a concept. But with Batista's character, though, with his dialogue, and because you think of but he completely, he very intellectual, like he really sit and talk, see him do his interviews and how he talks and how he comes off. He's not, he's a meathead, but he really ain't. He's a little different. You know what I mean? He he kind of educated. Sort of. So very much so. And his character, like you see his character work. Like I seen him grown as an actor over the years as he get these roles, man. And I love all of them for what they do. Any wrestler, whether it's Cena, of course, The Rock, and and if they transition into this career and they transition and they make a good career about where it's not like, oh, they're just some dumb wrestler. When they do well, I pull for all of them, whether I like them in the ring or not. Because Batista wasn't my favorite. I mean, he was cool, Evolution and all that, but I wasn't like a big Batista fan. Like I wasn't butthurt when he retired and all that. I was like, okay, whatever.
My life is over.
I wasn't that guy. But seeing him in these movies and him develop as an actor and like, but a Knock at the Cabin, I think it's a good watch.
Yeah.
It's a good watch, and especially you pay attention to Batista and his work as an actor and the character he played in that. Bone chilling though, like the
Yeah.
whole concept of the movie, bone chilling. But Batista, if I'm gonna mention a movie, I'm gonna mention that one.
Yeah.
Knock at the
Okay.
Cabin.
All right. All right. I'm a another Adam Sandler movie.
Okay.
And one of his best movies, one of my favorites, one of the best sports movies. And it had the Big Show in it. It's Captain Insano, the Water Boy.
Oh
Yeah.
man, yeah, that's a great one.
Hey man, it's so many little, so many funny parts of that movie, like with just the little word, the sayings and stuff. When you joke around saying stuff from movie, you could say it's so many little one-liners from that movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
Jerry Reed, the coach for the other team, was hilarious in that movie. Played Smokey and the Bandit. He was the truck driver, Cletus.
Right.
But Snowman. But man, when he was the water boy, what's the matter, boy? You too stupid. But the water boy was hilarious.
Man, that's one of my favorite movies. Like,
man,
like it's probably my favorite Adam Sandler movie, and that's saying a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that one right there, especially with him, you got the Fonz as your football coach. Hey, what I'm saying?
Right.
But just him playing football at that, they was at a D5 school. They was sharing helmets. They was at one of those schools that you didn't really have to go to class, but you did have to go to class. Right. It was at D5. Them guys out there sharing cups and everything. When he sit there and did some slap hands. But the funniest part of that movie is when he told his mom, and I like Vicky Valancourt, and she showed me her boobies, and I like them too.
I like them too. Yeah. Oh man.
I'm the woo water boy. Man, when his dad came back, he was like, "We can be like the Tiger Woods and his daddy." Come on, dopey. When that mom seen him and she gave that Roman Reigns spear.
Yeah, right. Oh man. Yeah, that.
Oh. Let's do about 2 more each, man, and then we'll call it a night.
All right. I'm gonna go with one. It's another older movie, and an older wrestler who a lot of people might not know about, but at the time, especially for the time of this movie, I'm gonna go with Escape from New York. Oh, another John Carpenter movie. Kurt Russell, Isaac Hayes, and a bunch of other characters. But there was a scene in there where Ox Baker was wrestling. And, of course, Ox Baker, definitely before a lot of, even before our time, really, was popular in the 60s and the 70s. But he had a very unique look, and it's part of the reason why he was in the movie, great heel, very intimidating looking, but looking at the movie again, it's an early 80s movie, like 1982 or something like that. But, it was a big deal. I guess, same time, 82 was when Rocky 3 So, but they played totally different characters. I mean, different setup, as how Hulk Hogan as Thunderlips was, and then how
Right.
Osbecker was in this movie. But still, it was
In the
the
flesh.
movie very, I mean, definitely a different movie. Like the John Carpenter is very innovative.
Yeah.
But it was cool to see Oz Baker, make an appearance in a little wrestling scene
Yeah.
during the movie.
Okay. I'm gonna go back. We talked about Roddy Piper earlier,
Right.
and I we'll talk Body Slam,
Hey.
and that was they had the rock and wrestling.
Right.
This real life manager was managing a tag team and a rock and roll band at the same time, and it was the Tongan Kid who was actually one of the Fatu's. He's Rikishi's twin brother.
Right.
Jacob Fatu's dad, and Roddy Piper. But that movie was full. It had the Barbarian. You had the Wild Samoans. Alpha and Sika were in there. Yeah, cameos by Bruno Sammartino, Ric Flair, Classy, Freddie Blassie. All kind of folks in there.
Right.
And it was they were like, it had a different feel to it. With Roddy Piper's name was Rick Roberts, Quick Rick Roberts, and I forget what the Tongan Kid's name was, but man, that movie was always cool to me because it was just had so many wrestlers in it,
right?
And they actually got they got beat up and put in the hospital, and they had to work to get this one match back, and if they won, they would get the titles and all this money, but it wasn't, they didn't act like it was rehearsed. They were still kayfabing even in the movie.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
right.
Yeah, I always thought that was a good one. And I always liked that movie, and it had Dirk Benedict in it from the A-Team. He was face man in the A-Team. Yeah, he was the manager.
Looking like Eric Bischoff.
Yeah. And the Wild Samoans, when they're picking up folks' cars and stuff, actually had a lot of the bloodline in there.
Right.
Like I say, Alpha Seeker, you had the Tonga Kid, the Barbarian.
Right.
So yeah. All right, man. Give me your last one, and then I'll end it with one.
All right. Really, well, I don't know what you got last, but I'm gonna go with the Iron Claw, the story of the Von Erichs, and this movie, of course, any fan who's a fan like we're fans, talking about me and UE,
yeah,
the Von Erich story,
right?
And fans who know the story know that, of course, just like any other movie that's based on a true story, it's not. They kind of go off the rails a little bit. So there are some things in this movie that allegedly didn't happen the way it did in real life, how it was portrayed in the movie.
Right.
But it was just, even though it was a tragic story, as far as the Von Erichs, it was still cool that they put that story on screen, and for people who don't know, kind of get somewhat of a visual and try to relive through the screen of what this family went to, what they meant for the wrestling business, and the tragedy in it. Yes, it was a tragic story, but I thought they did a very great job with the movie. I thought the casting was pretty good, and the wrestling scenes I thought was pretty good, and I just thought it was just a phenomenal way to tell that story.
Yeah. Shout out to Chavo Guerrero. He was in charge of training those guys, and and getting them ready for the movie. He's done a lot of stuff in that in Hollywood with the show on Netflix, Glow, like the Iron Claw. He was in the Iron Claw. He was one of their opponents, you know, in their bumping and stuff. But man, shout out to him for just taking, you know, making because that movie was, first of all, it's crazy because when you hear that story, and we've seen you've had so many documentaries, they got a Dark Side of the Ring, and you know, they had to keep one of the brothers out because they were just like then it would just be too sad.
Right.
You know, they didn't even have the youngest brother in the movie.
Right.
You know, and then like to me, the audience that doesn't watch wrestling doesn't know about it. See, they don't even know that the story is way worse than the one they just saw.
Right.
You know, but I tell you what, man, the end of that movie when after Kerry shoots himself and he's walking outside and he sees he's got his foot back and he's jumping around and he sees his brothers and you know he's hugging them and stuff and you know he was like, where's Jackie? You know what I'm saying? His oldest brother
was the little one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, bro, it's just when it's supposed to be Kevin Von Erich was sitting there watching his sons play and just starts crying. It's like, I used to be a brother. I'm not even a brother anymore.
Wow.
You know, I mean, it's just so, I mean, the movie was just,
it's tragic, bro.
Yeah, it's horrible. It was a horrible thing. And then, you know, like all the documentaries and stuff you have heard about Fritz and, you know, I mean, I remember the one part of hearing about with him telling Kevin that he wasn't man enough to kill himself like his brothers did. Like he wasn't tough enough to do it. Like it was, you know, that's just crazy, man. That family just broke. You know, you talk about the Von Erich curse, and I mean it seems like it's real. Because I mean, could you imagine? I couldn't imagine anything happening to my two boys, but four of them, and no, five of them died. You got six boys.
Yeah.
Two died.
The oldest one, that was the little guy when he passed.
Yeah, he got electrocuted and drowned in the face down in the snow.
Right. And
yeah.
Of course, David.
Then you have David.
Right.
Who had the stomach thing, was, you know, but
right.
There's a lot of different stories that go around about, you know, drug overdose. They said Bruiser Brody was in the room hiding stuff, and who knows?
Who knows?
You know, but then the other three to all commit suicide. You know, you've got five brothers now. You don't even have you're not even a brother. That's just tragic. I mean, that's truly a tragic story, and it's just nothing good about that. The whole movie is just completely sad, man. It's just sad. And it just seems like Kerry, was supposed to be in the Olympics. That gets taken away from him. Foot gets taken away. Like, there was no winning. Like, you were on top of the world, but at the same time, everything is taken from you.
Right.
You know, and some people can't handle it. And what wasn't in the movie, why he killed himself, he was about to go to jail. You remember, he was going to turn himself in. Yeah, man, that's just, you know, like I say, the movie was good, you know, and get to see, you know, them with the Free Birds and Ric Flair and all that. But it's just so sad. I remember the one part watching when Kerry won the title and David was sitting on the steps. Like, it looked like his ghost was sitting on the steps while his mom was watching it or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just,
you know, one thing, and I know Kevin was obviously heavily involved in the writing of this film.
Yeah.
But it makes me wonder, when they decided who was gonna who was gonna go over on H. Was it gonna be Kerry? Was it gonna be Kevin? And the movie they did the coin toss. I wonder, like, so is that really how they did that? You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
Was it really a coin toss, or was that just for the movie, or
Yeah. Because it don't
you
seem
know?
like he would do a coin toss for what's best for business. But I think, Kerry was bigger. I don't know if, Kevin was tough, man. He wrestled barefooted, so he was different. He was doing the aerial stuff,
Yeah,
but you didn't look at him as the toughest one to me. And Kerry
that,
was the big one, and Kerry was built up, and you know,
yeah.
so
Saying he was the ladies' man. I mean, well, the chicks liked all of them because they were Von Erichs, but I
right,
think Kerry, he had, to your point, he had that look like he was, like you said, he had bigger muscles. Like, cause Kevin was built too, but he wasn't built like Kerry.
right, right.
David he was tall and slender, so he wasn't
Yeah, and
built like
lanky.
them two.
Yeah,
But I think
Wiley.
he had more charisma because he was the chosen one,
Yeah,
allegedly David, because he had more charisma than the other two.
right.
But I
But also,
guess
they say he was the
Kerry,
best worker too.
right,
They say
right,
he the one that had it.
right,
Yeah, he was the
right.
one. You know.
So, but I mean, like you said, play out the way it played out. But just in the movie, they did a coin toss, and I just kind of wonder, like, is that
I
really
think
had?
I think Kerry Von Erich versus Ric Flair sells more tickets than Kevin Von Erich does versus
Yeah,
Flair. So
yeah,
I'm sure. I don't know, but I'm sure they. I don't think that it's best for business is nothing new to the
right.
wrestling business. I think they was doing that even way back then. Because they
But
still had to sell
at
tickets, no matter
at
if
the
it's a
end of the
memorial show or not.
at the end of the day, though, you hear about how that title run ended, and allegedly he was missing dates and stuff. He's on champion like 2 weeks or whatever, So
Right.
it was like, I guess I guess allegedly Kerry was being Kerry, and maybe I don't know, Kevin said put butts in the seats, but he probably was more thorough when it comes to
More
handling business
reliable.
behind it.
Probably more
Yeah,
reliable. Yeah.
yeah. So, but I mean, we're not there. All we know is what we read.
Right. But you
Just like
do
every,
know
yeah,
it's one of those things. They gave him the title because David died and it was a memorial
right,
show. They will make you the
right,
champion, but then you have to drop it right back.
right,
You know, and that's clearly what happened. Whether I don't, just like a Jey Uso, you knew that title run. They knew it wasn't going to be long.
right,
They knew they were doing a favor. So the Von Erich, he done died. They finally had the NWA World Heavyweight Championship in their family.
right.
So that's sad, man. It's just a whole sad story, dude. So I hope that Kevin's sons can really, turn into something as far as a tag team. I know they've been in MLW and TNA, and I think they've done a few AEW things and stuff, but I hope they can really turn into something, kind of
Right,
bring the name back, kind of, it'd be good to see something positive come out of there.
right.
Because after all that stuff happened, you didn't never see Kevin Von Erich back in the ring anymore.
Right.
Very, very, very
I
seldom
mean,
did.
he moved to Hawaii. I mean, he
Right.
kind of got away from.
Yeah, they sold the company. He's like sold his shares and got the hell on. And why couldn't you blame him?
Right.
Why would you? You know what I mean? But it'd be good to see something real positive happening with the name Von Erich.
Right.
So Hey man, I'm gonna end it with this one, and not a huge fan of the movies, but I thought it was cool because the way the movies were, they were horror movies, and this guy was scary as a wrestler, and they used him scary as an actor. And I'm talking about in See No Evil.
Absolutely.
You know, and just nothing major, nothing, you know, huge, no awards or anything, but shout out to him for being in a movie.
Right.
And, you know, the way they used him, he didn't, you know, he was still scary. He's still a, you know, almost a bad guy, you know, so he didn't have to change at all, you know.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was easy work for him.
Right. You know, so, but I thought that was so cool. And, you know, just to end it with, you know, the shout out to him because it was a part 2 as well. So,
right.
Yeah, man. Shout out to the mayor, though, or the mayor of, what is he, Knoxville?
Yeah, Knoxville, Glenn Jacobs.
Glenn Jacobs. Yeah, man. Shout out Kane, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we started seeing the mayor when he was Corporate Kane, you know.
Yeah.
It was Corporate Kane, you know.
Right. The voters must have never heard of Katie Vick, you know.
Right.
But hey, man, episode 25, man. Been wrestlers and movies. And hey man, don't forget to like, comment, and please subscribe to the channel. And shout out to all you new subscribers, new watchers. Appreciate you guys. And yeah, man, it's Welcome to Wrasslin. We'll be back next week with another topic and more premium, as my boys say, wrestling content.
Welcome to Wrasslin.
Welcome to Wrasslin.
Welcome to Wrasslin, Chetty Bobby. Welcome to Wrasslin with Big E and the POT. Podcast tag champs of the whole world, slamming like a DDT. Got it like just like a figure four. Hulk Hogan, all they do is flex. Talking wrestling while they get the dough. Off the top like a superplex. Think they letting up? Hell no. Dusty Rose with the elbow. From the corner like a stinging splash straight to the face. I know you felt those. Hey, y'all crying out for help though. Rising up like the dead man. About to go upside your head like Stone Cold with the red pan. Bottom line, if you want the facts, welcome to Wrestling's where you need to be. Chetty Bobby, this show improved like John Cena, you ain't seeing me. Bottom line, if you want the facts, welcome to Wrestling's where you need to be. Chetty Bobby, this show improved like John Cena, you ain't seeing me. Yeah.